Маленькая такая мариупольская диаспора, которая образовалась в городе Киеве. Я уверен, что у нас с вами...
Сегодня референдум проходит в Мариуполе.
Today a referendum is taking place in Mariupol. I'm strongly against it. How am I, a native Mariupol resident, able to say no in this ballot? I've no such right.
Сказать свое «нет» в этом бюллетене.
I consider myself a Mariupol resident, and I want Mariupol to be Ukraine.
Я хочу, чтобы Маріуполь був Україною.
Але вже скільки місяців пройшло, ми досі це згадуємо.
But even after all these months, we still remember it and cry, and we still cannot believe that all this happened and is still happening in our city. That is why we are here now. We want to support our city and prove to the whole world that Mariupol is Ukraine. And it does not need any referendum, any liberators. We are Ukrainians and we want to live on our Ukrainian land in our hometown.
Ми українці, ми хочемо жити на своїй українській землі, у своєму рідному місті.
Секретарь городской инициативной группы Мариуполь, город высокой культуры.
Ballots were cast in occupied parts of Ukraine on Saturday, a day after Russia launched referendums aimed at annexing 4 occupied regions of the country. The move drew condemnation from Kyiv and Western nations who dismissed the votes as a sham and pledged not to recognize their results. Ukrainian officials said people were banned from leaving some occupied areas until the 4-day vote was over, adding that armed groups were going into homes and employees were threatened with a sack if they did not participate. Reuters could not immediately verify reports of coercion. In Kyiv on Saturday, internally displaced people from Mariupol like Ole Sukov protested the vote.
Сегодня референдум проходит в Мариуполе.
Today a referendum is taking place in Mariupol. I'm strongly against it. How am I, a native Mariupol resident, able to say no in this ballot? I've no such right.
Сказать свое «нет» в этом бюллетене.
I consider myself a Mariupol resident, and I want Mariupol to be Ukraine.
Я хочу, чтобы Мариуполь был Украиной.
But back in his hometown, some, like Alexei, are grateful for the vote, telling Reuters, "We are only hoping for the best." The votes on becoming part of Russia were hastily organized after Ukraine recaptured large swaths of the northeast in a counteroffensive earlier this month. In his nightly address on Friday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskiy condemned the referendums.
Абсолютно справедливо світ відреагує і на псевдореферендуми.
The world will react absolutely appropriately to the pseudo-referendums. They will be unequivocally condemned and to the criminal mobilization which the occupiers are now trying to conduct in Crimea and other parts of Ukraine, which they are temporarily in control of. These are not just crimes against international law and Ukrainian law. These are crimes against specific people, against a nation.
By incorporating the 4 areas, Moscow could portray attacks to retake them as an attack on Russia itself, and potentially use that to justify even a nuclear response, a terrifying prospect in a war that has already killed tens of thousands of people, uprooted millions, and pummeled the global economy. Polling stations were also set up in Moscow for residents of those regions now living in Russia. Flag-waving government supporters attended rallies in Moscow and St. Petersburg in favor of the referendums and the war effort. Ukraine, Western leaders, and the United Nations have slammed the votes as an illegitimate precursor to illegal annexation. There are no independent observers, and much of the pre-war population has fled. Moscow says the referendums offer an opportunity for people in the region to express their view. Russian President Vladimir Putin maintains Russia's actions in Ukraine are aimed at carrying out a special military operation to demilitarize the country, rid it of dangerous nationalists, and defend Russia from Transatlantic Alliance, NATO.
This November, the American people are going to show this repulsive political class exactly what we think of their lies, their witch hunts, and the corruption by voting in overwhelming numbers to throw them the hell out of office, starting with this disgusting human being, Letitia James. In a fair country, instead of harassing me, the Biden Justice Department would be investigating Letitia James for her appalling and malicious abuse of power. Thankfully, the latest polls show that Peekaboo James is losing to her Republican challenger this fall. He's very good, too. He's a great guy. He's a real crime fighter. And we wish Michael a lot of luck because he's representing a lot of people that want to see New York change. It's a crime-ridden place. But she doesn't just deserve to lose, she deserves to be removed from office, immediately disbarred and banished from the legal profession forever. And that goes for others also. Governor, we don't want the guard. They're burning down your city, Governor. Our great cities, they are destroying them like never before.
Абсолютно справедливо світ відреагує і на псевдореферендуми.
The world will react absolutely appropriately to the pseudo-referendums. They will be unequivocally condemned and to the criminal mobilization which the occupiers are now trying to conduct in Crimea and other parts of Ukraine, which they are temporarily in control of. These are not just crimes against international law and Ukrainian law, these are crimes against specific people, against a nation.
У мене є просте прохання до усіх наших людей.
I have a simple request for our people who are now on temporarily occupied territory. Do the most important thing, keep safe and help us to weaken and destroy the occupiers. Hide from Russian mobilization in any way you can. Avoid draft orders. Try to move to the free territory of Ukraine.
Сьогодні для ударів на Дніпропетровщині.
Today, the Russian army used Iranian drones for its strikes on Dnipropetrovsk region and Odessa. I instructed the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to strongly react to this fact. The world will know about every instance of collaboration with evil and it will have corresponding consequences.
І це матиме відповідні